The four unlikely compatriots found themselves in an odd and seemingly impossible situation. Elon Musk, the Terminator, Donkey from Shrek, and Donald Trump had been transported to a strange, off-the-grid amusement park in a place that seemed to be in the middle of nowhere. The four of them looked around the room, unsure of what to do next. Finally, Elon Musk spoke up. "I think it's time we figure out how to get out of here," he said. The others nodded in agreement, and they all took their seats around the table. They each shared their ideas and theories on how to escape the park, but nothing seemed to work. Just as they were about to give up, a voice suddenly filled the room. "You must work together if you are to escape," it said. The four companions looked around, but there was no one else in the room. Suddenly, a bright light filled the room, and a figure appeared in the center of the table. It was a strange being, with a glowing aura and eyes that seemed to pierce their souls. They were all confused and bewildered, but they knew they had to find a way out. "I am the guardian of this place," the figure said. "I have been watching you, and I know that you have the courage and strength to escape this park. But in order to do so, you must work together, as a team. Only then will you be able to make it out alive." The four companions looked at each other, and they all nodded in agreement. It was clear that they had no choice but to work together if they were going to make it out of the park. With a newfound sense of determination, they all stood up and prepared to venture back out into the amusement park, ready to tackle whatever challenge they had. Exploring the park, the four of them soon realized that it was much bigger than they had initially expected. Everywhere they turned, there seemed to be something new and exciting to explore. They found a massive roller coaster, a log flume, a haunted house, and a giant Ferris wheel. As they began to explore the park, they soon realized that they had no choice but to rely on each other if they were going to make it out alive. They also stumbled across a few strange and unusual attractions, like a giant robotic dinosaur and a giant booth chow. As they explored, they soon realized that the park was full of puzzles and mysteries. Everywhere they looked, there were clues and secrets to be found. With each discovery, they became more and more determined to find a way out. The four of them worked together to solve the puzzles, and eventually they were able to make it to the center of the park. There they found a large door with a sign that read "Exit." Taking a deep breath, they all stepped through the door and found themselves back in reality. The four of them looked around, stunned that they had actually made it out of the park. They had faced many challenges and obstacles, but in the end, their teamwork and determination had paid off. As they walked away from the park, they all knew that they would never forget the strange and surreal experience they had just encountered. With only their wits and courage to guide, they embarked on a journey that took them through the surreal and twisted world of the amusement park and into the unknown. Realizing the situation as the four of them stepped out of the park, they all felt a sense of relief. They had managed to escape the bizarre and twisted world they had found themselves in, and they were now back in reality. At the same time, all felt a sense of awe. They had come together as unlikely compatriots, and together they had managed to solve the puzzles and find a way out. They had all come to rely on each other, and their teamwork had been essential to their success. As they walked away from the park, they all realized that their experience had changed them in some way. They had faced a seemingly impossible situation, and by working together, they had found a way out. They had all learned that when faced with an insurmountable challenge, teamwork and determination could be the key to success. The four of them made their way back to the real world, and though they would never forget the surreal and strange experience they had just encountered, they all knew that they had become stronger and more resilient because of it. They had learned that when times are tough, relying on each other can be the best way to get through. As they ventured further into the depths of the park, they came across an old, decrepit building. As they made their way through the park, they noticed a few things that could help them escape. There were a few exits that seemed to lead out of the park, but they were all guarded by large robotic figures that blocked their way. They also noticed a few security cameras scattered around the park, but they couldn't figure out how to disable them. After some discussion, decided that the best way to escape was to try and find a way to disable the security cameras, so they could sneak out one of the exits without being seen. The four of them split up and began to search the park for a way to disable the cameras. The Terminator searched for a way to hack into the security system, while Donald Trump searched for a way to get past the robotic guards. Elon Musk and Yankee from Shrek searched for any tools they could find that could help them disable the cameras. After a few hours of searching, had found a few tools that could be used to disable the cameras, but they still couldn't figure out how to get past the robotic guards. It seemed like the only way out was to somehow outsmart the robotic guards and find a way to sneak past them. The four of them huddled together and began to come up with a plan. Entering the building, they found themselves in a large room with a round table in the center. After much discussion, debate, they had come up with a plan to distract the robotic guards and sneak past them. The Terminator had found a way to hack into the security system and shut down the cameras, while Donald Trump had found a way to create a distraction that would draw the guards away from the exits. With the cameras disabled and the guards distracted, the four of them could make a run for the exits and hopefully make their escape. The plan was set. They all took a deep breath and then made their way to the exits. As they approached, they saw that the robotic guards had moved away from the exits, just as they had planned. They quickly ran towards the exits, and with a few quick steps, they were out of the park and free. The four of them had managed to escape the surreal and twisted world they found themselves in, and were now back in reality. They all looked at each other and smiled, relieved that they had managed to escape. They had learned a valuable lesson from their experience, that when times are tough, relying on each other can be the best way to get through. Sitting around the table were 4 chairs, each with an end plate. Conclusion: the four of them went their separate ways, but they would never forget their strange and surreal experience. They had managed to escape the off-the-grid amusement park and were now back in reality, and they were grateful for the experience. They had learned a valuable lesson, that when times are tough, relying on each other can be the best way to get through. And with that, they went their separate ways, grateful for the experience and the lesson they had learned. One chair was labeled Elon Musk, another the Terminator, the third Donkey from Shrek, and the fourth Donald Trump. It was clear that this was meant to be a meeting of the unusual companions.